All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Inside the IFL time, episode 13. And as always, I'm joined by Mr. Ed Ritter.
No.
Huh?
I guess I'm here. Am I here? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of here.
It's been a long 24 hours, I guess, for you and I. Well, not quite 24 hours, maybe 48. We've been watching these games several times, analyzing them several times, and trying to figure out just what team is going to be the teams to quote unquote beat, who will make the playoffs, who won't make the playoffs, who's struggling, and things like that. Figure out just what team is going to be the teams. Yeah. And I want to let anyone who joins us here in the chat, if you hear any difficulties, any technical audio, anything, let me know. But we should have this thing pretty squared away.
Cool.
So that said, we might as well get into these preseason games.
Sounds good to me.
So what was your we'll just start with the game that went off first. The very first game that we got to see. And oh damn, almost lost my breath there for a minute. I have no idea why either. That's pretty crazy. But any case, the Cobras and the Liberty.
Interesting game. When you look at that game, first thing automatically everybody's going to say is, holy crap, 8 interceptions. That just right there just blows your mind. It's like, wow. I don't know if, Boston has figured it out already, or, if it was just luck that night, what? But if you get 8 interceptions in one game, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Sadly, though, they weren't able to turn much of that into points.
Yeah, their offense, you can see it. Their offense is, so Boston's got their work cut out for them.
All right. And I know when the teams were released, we got the final builds. First thing you and I discussed when we got that particular build was, how are they going to do offensively? Because there's not one guy that's a silver or better. They're all bronze or lower on the offensive side.
It's true. We did discuss that. I don't know. We've seen it in other leagues where guys have got bronze quarterbacks to work good. We've seen it where guys have got bronze good. We've seen where guys have had bronze wide receivers look good. But
right,
all bronze. How did that was? Almost feel bad for Boston because they got to try to figure out how to get that to work.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun watching these teams, plain and simple, learning. And here's what I'll say about the Cobras is they could throw the ball over the field. Beakley was doing his thing. They were getting yards. They were getting points. But they got to protect the football. Because if they turn the ball over one too many times against a team who has a stronger offense than the Liberty, they just might be in trouble.
Yeah.
That's just a quick synopsis of that particular game.
Yeah, and I want to go and a little bit more. Arrington, the free safety for Boston, was everywhere. Holy crap.
And while that game was on, I was talking to Ramos, and he goes, Arrington's on Peds. And I was like, yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? So, but yeah, he had 3 interceptions, I think, in the first quarter.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I see your at there, Mr. Cody Ewing. Preseason. He keeps saying.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw this out at him though. He keeps saying preseason.
Uh-huh.
That was New York's legit playbook. Legit playbook for the season.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say preseason. You can't do it. You can't just say it because it was preseason. You have to actually look at yourself and go, holy shit. Does their playbooks. I mean, wow.
I look at it this way.
I like it, Cody. I like it.
I honestly hope guys use the legit playbooks. It would make no sense not to use the legit playbook because, like I said before, the reason why we wanted to do it the way we did it and how we did it was for the simple fact guys could learn this setup. None of us are used to legend. None of us are used to the sliders being moved to 80. None of us are used to the stamina being changed. If you went into this game blind, what are you thinking? So, my guess is we have enough owners or smart enough owners that they put together their best, if you will, the thing they could bring to the table to say, hey, I got to not worry about my opponent. I need to worry about myself. And that's what I've told you. The one thing that drives me crazy about the IFL is I sit here in this chair rather than an owner's chair. Oh, it's driving me crazy not working on playbooks and putting things together and things like that. But I know I'd have had so much fun putting together the playbook that I want, saying, is this shit going to work over here? Because I know it might work there or over here or over there, but will it work here? So I got to put something out there to know exactly what I'm working with heading into week 1. Because if you don't, you're going to go into week 1 on your own blind. And we've seen it in video games and we've seen it in real life. If you lose week 1, it could be that game that makes you miss the playoffs.
True. I'm sorry. Sorry. What I was laughing there was Mr. Chisholm's in the chat where he said it not legit.
but let me move on to the Carolina Pack and the Tokyo Kitsune. I know you're the one who's got all the stats and down. I enjoyed that game.
I got all. We can even throw out the stats real quick for New York, Boston. I got everything wrote down. If you want to do that, I don't care. We can do that before we go to the next one.
If you want to throw some numbers out real quick before we get into Tokyo and Carolina, go for it.
All right. In passing yards, Boston had 285, had 353. In the rushing, New York had 152 to Boston's 21. Total yards, New York outgained them 505 to 306. Time of possession was 25-17 for New York, 22-43 for Boston. New York, which everybody knows, had 8 turnovers. Had 2.
Wow.
Top receiver was Alex Zelli, 202 yards, 3 touchdowns.
This is Eli.
It's Eli Zelli. Yeah, either way. Andre Berry was the top receiver for Boston with 137 yards and a touchdown.
Andre Berry.
Let's see here. Top rusher for Boston was Marcus Bose, 21 yards. That's just sad. Lee had 155 yards, 2 touchdowns for New York.
21 yards. Fuck, most running backs can get 21 yards running on their knees.
Yeah, it was bad. seems to pretty much agree. If Boston can get that offense going, they might be legit. Leading tacklers in the game was none mentioned for New York.
Yeah, he was flying around everywhere.
Boston had Capone and I can never say this guy's name right. I think it's Marceau, but they each had 6.
Which Capone was it? Do you remember?
Frankie had 6, and Marceau had 6. They each had 6 tackles.
And since you mentioned the Capone, let's throw that out there real quick for people who've yet to figure that out. The 3 Capone triplets all play for Boston, and they're wearing numbers 1, 2, and 3, and that's in representation of in which order they were actually born. Correct?
Yes, that was the order they were born in. Yes,
because I know they had gone through.
I looked into that to find out why they did that, and that's what I was told because they were. Right. That's the order they were born, and that's what they wanted to do.
1, 2, and 3. But yeah, that's definitely something I noticed when I watched that game. It seemed like a Capone, which should happen, considering there's 3 of them on the 11-man defense, was always near the ball.
All right, as far as sacks, New York had one with Blackheart. Boston had one with Wingate.
You see the size of that man?
Yeah, he's a monster. Yeah. When they showed him on there, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's a big fella. And Danger Moon,
all right,
too small either.
Yeah. Passing wise, Tom Servo had 285 yards and a touchdown. Mr. Cannon, 353 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'd call that a hell of a day. New York had 1 field goal. Boston was 3 for 3. And as far as return yards, Bo Davis had 104 yards. And Redmond for New York had 126.
Redmond.
And there you go.
How fitting, Redmond. And I'll say this, and Mark's going to get a kick out of this. After having Ludacris, and now I created Jadakiss, how fitting that their return man is Redman.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah. Just thought that was funny when I realized that. Redman.
All right. Let's get into the Tokyo, Carolina game.
Yes, that Tokyo, Carolina game. That was a very interesting game. That game went back and forth. Tokyo started to pull away at the end, but Carolina said, we're still going to be in this, and they fought all the way up to the end. It was 34-26 Tokyo. And I know you have the complete numbers on it, but I know they were very close in total yards. I know they were separated less. Well, I guess very close, I shouldn't say, because they're separated just like a little under 100 yards, but they both had the ball 22-plus minutes. There was 9 total turnovers in this game. Both teams struggled to run the football, but at the end of the day, just like Arrington being quote-unquote on PEDS per the quote from Ramos, Joey Knight was on freaking PEDS in this game for Tokyo. And I'll let you get to some of those numbers, and we'll break this one down.
All right. As far as passing yards, Tokyo had 451. Carolina, 318. Rushing, Carolina had the edge 78-40. Total yards, it was Tokyo 491 to Carolina's 396. Time of possession, Carolina had the edge in that 32 to 22-18. And there was 9 turnovers. 6. Carolina had 3. Leading receivers, Tokyo was Knight, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. For Carolina was Fulmer, 113 yards. Rushing wise, Ernie Clapper had 65 yards. Kareem Wilcox had 44 yards. So another game where rushing didn't do very good. Tackles. Leading tackler for Tokyo was Lee. He had 8 tackles. Leading tackler for Carolina was me. That's right, I said me, damn it. 8 tackles. Sacks. Tokyo had Summers with 2 and Kurtz with 1.5. Carolina did not get any sacks. Passing. Dubset, 451 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dwayne Ritter, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2 for 2 on field goals. Carolina was 2 for 2 on field goals. He had 99 yards returning, and Hunter had 137 yards for Carolina.
Yeah. But yeah, getting into that game and where I was going with that particular game is, I don't know, I don't want either owner getting offended. But nothing really jumped off the page to me as that's where they're going to kick ass with. Now, I know they both struggled running the football, but if you watch the game, it seemed like both defense just swarmed to the ball. So I think these teams are pretty stout defensively. Tokyo not being able to run the ball shocked me because they only got 40 yards. I know you're taking pride in that because you're running the defense over there for Carolina.
Yes, I am.
You know, and Carolina, to me, it looked like they were trying to be a balanced offense. And when you run for 300 or pass for 318 yards and only throw for 78, the balance is gone. So to me, it looks like both teams look to be, for the most part, solid, but also look like they're struggling a little bit defensively. And that's the whole point of us having this one preseason game. So you can take the chance to change 15 plays offensively, 15 plays defensively this week, and adjust your ratio 15% one way or the other for this particular week. And I'll quickly throw out that's for this week, ladies and gentlemen. After week 1, it jumps to 25 plays and 25%, but just for this week, it's 15. So you pretty much have most of what you used for this week, so teams can prepare for you. So week 1 has a lot more value than going in blind. But like I said, Joey Knight was the big thing that stood out to me, just for the simple fact he had 175 yards and 2 scores, and he was major target for Tokyo all day. So I'd love to see Joey Knight going up against Arrington at this point.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
And I want to throw this out there. Between Tokyo and Carolina and the New York Cobra Boston Liberty game, those 2 games combined for 19 turnovers.
That's insane.
That's just stupid. Young teams need to learn how to protect the football. Let's put it this way. Boston had 2 turnovers, which was the best of the 4. Then Carolina had 3 turnovers. Tokyo had 6. And New York had 8. Just between New York and Tokyo, they had 14 turnovers. So it was like 19 total turnovers. Now, spoiler alert, the next 2 games we'll get into had a combined 5. To me, that's even a lot. And that's the effect, as far as I'm concerned, of us being on Legend. The effect of having defensive, strong-minded coaches. So I expect to see a lot of turnovers this season.
I agree. And I'll say this too, because you noticed it when we were talking, we noticed how drop back and then boom, fire to get the ball. I mean, they were there. I mean, they were. You don't really see that in other games and other. You don't see where they. It's like they're watching a professional do his job. Back up and then boom, here I come.
Right. Yeah, it was good. I mean, just the downfield blocking. The quarterback stepping up in the pocket, moving to his left, moving to his right, just flipping the ball out as if to say, throw it away, don't take the sack. Just little things that the level of legend brings to the table is just puts everything on a whole new level. Which is why I basically made the statement, and I'll make the statement over and over and over and over and over again, that our gameplay is going to be second to none. We have solid coaches who are going to make sure of that to begin with. Then putting in the legend, putting in the sliders, because you can see the sliders help. It's simple as that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It works.
Right. And I'll say this too, because you and I both comment on it, and I'm sure everybody is already thinking in these games was unfreaking believable.
Yeah. Kudos to
just like
Chris Davis for wanting to do it.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, so I want to thank our spectacular Pooh 24, as he's lovingly known as Mr. Chris Davis, because he's the one who came to me and said, "Look, got to mess with these sliders. I want to do this. Let's try this." And he's the one who put in the time and effort, ran numerous sim tests at different levels, different slide spots to find the right formula. So all the credit's going off to Chris for that one.
Right.
All right. Well, let's jump into the third game.
All right. Before we do that, I'd like to thank everybody for who's in the chat right now, and everybody's telling us, giving us A+ for the show on YouTube right now.
Yes. Yeah, for everybody who's listening or listens to this later, make sure you visit iflzone.weebly.com. And I'm currently working on trying to put together a new look for the website, so to speak. Again, we will not have nothing all glitz and glamoury. It'll be old school look, the old rugged type stuff, back with your basic HTML, just take us back to the old days, when websites were websites, not this fancy stuff, which is nothing against that. I'm not always about the fancy thing for some reason, so I'm working on that. So, but anyway, make sure you visit iflzone.weebly.com and make sure you catch us on the Twitter at iflzone and join the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/groups/iflzone, or just message me and I'll send you the link. And all these links should be in the description of the channel here for this particular show. And then you will find those 3 links on all our channels from here on out and everything that we do, because
nice.
Going to start pushing all our links and getting them out there. For some reason they don't hyperlink it unless you add the HTTP, so isn't that interesting? So I'll just have to fix that myself.
All right, well, before we go on to this next game, Cody had a question. Says, "Will stats be on the website during the season?"
Say that again.
That's our plan, right? Will stats during the season, and that is our plan.
Yes. Speaking of that, I'm going to look out for people, and I'll mention it here. I keep forgetting to post it in Slack, but I'm going to mention it here and then try to remember to put it on Slack. I'm looking for stat guys. When games are run, it's going to be real easy for you. When games are run, and I'm working on trying to be able to do a couple of games myself here. Hopefully we'll get that figured out sooner than later. I'm actually a couple steps away. I just need to get a bigger flash drive. So I need to come up with like the $20-$30 to get the flash drive. And living check to check, even that's a struggle. So, but Davis is the one running the games right now. And whether he's doing it, I'm doing it, or we're doing it, at the end of each game, we are actually going to scroll through every stat. And we're going to work on which exact stats we're using, which ones we're going to take care of, which ones we want to take care of. And we are going to create a stats section. Now, that being stated, I'm looking for stat guys. It would be nice to get, say, for example, maybe 4 guys, and each guy's responsible for gathering the stats for 2 different teams, submitting them to me, and that would be updating. So if someone took, since the game we just spoke about, was it Carolina and Tokyo? So say you just happen to have Carolina and Tokyo as your 2 teams, you grab their stats from week 1 And then again in week 2, and when you submit it to me, you're sending me their overall stats now after 2 games. I will then go into the HTML because it's basically going to be done through an HTML grid-like setup. And I'll type in the updated stats, and then I'll position everybody in the proper order they belong based on the particular stat, whether it be most interceptions or pass yards, rush yards, tackles, whatever it's going to be. So I'm going to be putting all that together, and that's why I'm looking for guys who can do stat gathering, because it's going to take enough time for me as it is to put the stats together, because I'm not paying $150 a year for sites. Most of us are familiar with DAC Stats. I personally contacted DAC Stats and told them, hey, how much exactly did this cost me to do this, and this? They said, well, what exactly do you mean? I referred them to another league that was using DAC Stats and said, I want to do exactly what they're doing, and this is what I need. What would it cost me? And they said, oh, that service is $150. I said, okay. Yeah, not doing it. So I'm doing it by hand because I don't care. I'll do it by hand. It's not a big deal. I've done stats all the time. Cody said, what size flash drive do you need? What was it? 16 might. 32 will. I'd have to check a 16, but I know a 32 will fit perfectly. And I'm trying to remember the one I was looking at, but it was made by Gorilla something, and it gives me 3 hours. Because the problem is, if I get one that only holds two hours, 20 minutes, whatever, 2 hours, 20 minutes, what happens if a game runs into overtime and takes up damn near the whole quarter? I'll need a full 3 hour drive. And yeah, this particular one gave me 3 hours of record time. So I'm definitely going to need that just in case we get something that would run into overtime. And for the way this league's running, overtime's going to happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They happen. They take place. So I need to be prepared for it.
All right. Well, Cody said he'll look into it for you.
Yeah, Cody's the man. You got to love him, which I do.
All right. Well, now we'll get into the next game.
Yes. Philadelphia and the Tampa Bay Stallions. The battle of the tight end love. 2 silvers for Philly and 2 golds for the Stallions. Oh, and I want to throw this one stat out right here, right now. After mentioning that Carolina and Tokyo had 9 turnovers, and New York and Boston had 10 turnovers, for a total of 19 turnovers, these 2 teams combined for 1.
Yep.
And I'll throw this out. If Mr. Davis, I know you're in the chat, you're listening to this, pat yourself on the back, my friend, because the Philadelphia Flight were actually the only team that didn't turn the ball over. But
yep.
Yeah, I'll let you throw out the numbers for this game real quick.
All right. Passing 275 to 165. Rushing, it was the Flight 284 to 85. So that's quite a big difference. I gotta stop for a second because I just saw what I'm trying not to laugh, but that's funny, Cody. All right, total yards. It was the Flight 449 to the 360 of the Stallions. Time of possession was 27. I think I got 27.50 here for the Flight. 2010 for the Stallions. 1 turnover. That was by the Stallions. Leading receivers from Tampa Bay. Friday had 116 yards and a touchdown. Killer had 64 yards and a touchdown. Leading rushers was Northrop, 291 yards and 4 touchdowns for Philly. 76 yards for the Tampa Bay man.
Herschel.
Herschel man. Leading tacklers for For the flight was Ryans, 9 tackles. For Tampa Bay, Law had 8 tackles. Sacks, Cox had 2 for Philly. Fox had 1 for Tampa Bay. Alex Dar had 165 yards passing for the flight. Rocket Perez, 275 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Stallions. The flight were 2 for 2 for field goals. Return yards. What the hell? I can't read my writing. That's sad. Whoever the hell the return man is, I'm sorry, I can't read my writing. What I have wrote down here for the flight. Maybe Mr. Davis will know who it is. He had 39 yards, and Walker had 128 yards for the Stallions.
I'm just.
Dude, I'm. It's like chicken scratch sometimes. I just look and going out. I'm writing everything down real fast, trying to get everything done, and
I
I'm
can't.
like, oh, good Lord.
I can't read my writing. I don't know who it is.
I don't know. I can't read. Sorry, guys. I'm 43 years old. I've been out of school 25 years this year. So, I have 4 kids. I have a senior that's graduating this year. I have a son that has CP. I got more important things to do to make sure I got the damn name right.
Thing is, you have the name right. You just can't read it.
Maybe that's true.
Anyway, their return man is Debo Cooks, by the way. So, yeah. I mean,
Cooks? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, that is only 5 letters, and 2 of them are the same letter. So, however you wrote that must be real ugly.
Yeah, it is. I will tell you how I feel, damn it.
Oh, my God. That's too funny. But, yeah, getting into this game, here's what I'll say about Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. How do I want to word this? I want to make sure I word it properly. Tampa Bay, 275 passing yards, and the tight end, or tight ends for that matter, were not leading the team in receptions or yards, whatever. Both your golds and your tight ends, and at least one of them ain't lighting it up. Are you wasting your build, or is it part of the plan? Does he know something none of us know? I have no clue. We will see. The flight clearly was able to run the football. The one thing I'll tell you right now that I saw out of Tampa Bay, that seemed like they were in a lot of pass defense, which opened up the running game. That's not to discredit Philadelphia's running game. But what it says to me is if they go up against a team that seems to know what they're doing against the run, their running numbers are going to be down a little bit. So Colin Northrup was able to run some people over. He didn't make too many moves. He went north and south. East and west doesn't seem to be something he's too comfortable with. But he was a solid running back, did his thing. I mean, hell, 284 rushing yards or whatever it was, and they had the scores. Proved
91.
Yeah, so that proves he's going to be tough to deal with. The passing game is semi-suspect, but at the end of the day, when you're running like that, semi-suspect is going to be good enough. So, and they didn't turn the ball over, which to me was huge. I'd rather my quarterback only throw for a few yards as Alex Dar did in this game and protect the football, in a victory than risk, turning the ball over too many times and what have you. But that's the joy of this. I know all these teams are going to fix these turnovers. I just know they are. These coaches in this league are going to be too good. They're not going to stand for it. They're going to do what they got to do to correct it. But 34-14 final score. Tampa Bay's got to find their offense. They just have to find some offense. It, to me, overall, was the weakest offense of the day, or both days for that matter. They need to figure it out. They need to get it going. I think I said 275 was actually 360 yards of offense. I'm talking about just passing on that one. But 360 yards is still the weakest to me. I know the Liberty had 306 yards, so maybe I should say they're the weakest. But I think the main reason why I'm quote unquote, I guess we could say, picking on Tampa Bay is just because they loaded up on tight end Love, both goals, and didn't find them. So to me, that should be your offense. So you didn't find it. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
Hey, you're the tight end. Whatever you say about the tight ends, I'm going to say, yep, he's right.
Yeah. I get called the tight end whisperer, which is hilarious because of all of what I've done in 4 lousy games. But hell, in those 4 games, I did more in 4 games with that tight end than any other coach did in that particular season in 12 games with their tight end. So I'll take it.
Heck yeah.
All right. 4th and final game. The Baltimore Bulls and the Arizona Outlaws. That ended 23-13 in favor of Baltimore. And unfortunately for the league, these 2 teams, TJ, Stevie T, they're probably sitting back thinking this sucks. Just for the simple fact, my pathetic behind couldn't stay healthy in this game. I got hurt early in this game. So they really couldn't give this game a true assessment. We can't give this game a 100% true assessment. We can only guess based on what we did see. So, but I'll let you break this one down real quick with the stats.
All right. Passing yards, Baltimore, 263, 187 for Arizona. Rushing, 103 for Baltimore, 82 for Arizona. 366 to 269 total yards. Time of possession was 24-56 for Baltimore, 22-22 for Arizona. That's crazy. Turnovers, Baltimore had 1, Arizona had 3. Leading receivers, Woods Jr., 128 yards for Baltimore. Tree Feather for Arizona, 74 yards and a touchdown. Rushing, Little John, 109 yards and 2 touchdowns for Baltimore. Doug Bose, unfortunately because of the injury, only had 61 yards. Leading tacklers were both from Arizona. Durango had 11. Tatum had 7. Sacks, also from Arizona. Cross had 1. Jenkins had 1. Let's see. Passing. Speaks had 263 yards. For Baltimore, Savage had 187 yards and a touchdown. Field goals. Baltimore was 3 for 3. 2 return yards. Wilson had 83 yards for Baltimore, and Tatum had 116 yards for Arizona.
Right. Now I'll say this. And it sounds like I'm tooting my horn because this happens to be my player. 61 rushing yards was the leading rusher for Arizona. And he got hurt in the first quarter. I missed the rest of the game. So, and to Arizona's credit, I noticed their backup running back had several solid runs. I guess it worked itself out because there was a lot of here's the ball and here's the defense. It was just boom, boom. They got cracked in the backfield, hit at the line of scrimmage, didn't go nowhere. But he did get a couple 7, 8, 10+ yard runs, and it was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. So if it's the star running back, how much more yards could they have gotten? Which tells me, Baltimore knows this, they don't know exactly how good they would have been against the star running back the whole game. But that's the case in point with football. Guys get hurt, and you just got to beat who's on the field. But kudos to both teams. I think both teams played the run very well in this game. Both teams were swarming to the ball. And I'll say this, and that is Little John. He's a rugged running back. I liked how he looked. And I just, based on what I seen, I don't think they opened up the playbook with him enough. And I think he's going to be a very, very important part for them. Just an opinion. He can go inside. He can go outside. He's got a little bit of moves to him. He can run somebody over. There was one run where he went off the right side and just put somebody in the ground, said, yeah, you're not tackling me here, and he scored. So I like that particular setup with them. Tatum, defensively, was kind of like Arrington. He was everywhere, except he was just making tackles after tackles, and he's the return man, and that's why I'm bringing him up. To me, he was the most impressive return man of the 4 games. I don't know if you had caught that or even thought about that, but I just wanted to throw that one out.
Let's see.
And I thought it was ironic because he's the only gold strong safety. And it was like, okay, he's the only strong safety in the entire league. He happens to be a return man as well. And there's a couple of return men in this league. So,
wow. No, I did not catch that, but now that I'm looking at it, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Now you actually wrote down the return yards. Did he lead them in yards? I didn't even bother to look. I was just basing it off how he ran.
Lead who in as far as the league, or as far as just?
Well, I know you wrote down return yards for each team. I didn't bother to even look at it. Who?
Yeah, Arizona. Tatum had 116, but there was a couple guys ahead of him. Redmond had 126. Walker had 128.
Yeah, so I figured there might have been some over it. I just was impressed with how he ran.
100 from Carolina had 137.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think he was first. I just was basing it on, again, how he was running the ball and how he did what he did. One thing I should go back is check and see the averages of things like that, which is going to be fun come the regular season because we'll get all those stats taken care of and broken down in full detail. So I know we're going to do predictions, not just say standings. We wanted to, throw out what players stood out to us and things of that nature.
Right.
And who we feel could be the guys to contend within this league, offensively, defensively, whatever we came up with individually, because quite frankly, we do not have a script that we're working from. We like to do this organically by the seat of our pants. I can't handle scripted shows, even in shows done by professionals, which we're nowhere near close to being. But it seems too robotic when you have a script. I like when they stutter and they search for what they want to say. It just sounds normal, like they're really analyzing things legitimately on the fly. So is there any particular player, I don't care the position, I don't care the team, but was there a player that stood out to you more than anyone else after just one preseason game?
I had 2.
Okay. And
that was from Boston. He's everywhere. He makes play after play. It's insane. The other one would be Northrop, because he just flat out runs. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah. So, yep. Darrell Arrington and Colin Northrop. Well, I'm going to go this route, and I can say Arrington. There's no arguing that one. I can say Joey Knight, as I mentioned, from Tokyo. He had tons of catches. But to not piggyback off of you, I'm going to mention these particular players. And I will give the cons on it. First one's going to be Alex Zeli with his 200-plus yards receiving and his 3 touchdowns. I credit that to some of it being because Bo Davis was covering Ritter. Because we all know a gold corner can shut down a gold receiver pretty good. And the team just happened to make the adjustments to find the number 2 receiver and just said, you know what, take the number 1. That's fine. Our number 2 is going to be just as good, and we're going to use him. And you've seen it because when you watch the game back, you can see they try to go to the first receiver, the number one. Wasn't working. So all of a sudden, the freaking AI just says, okay, adjustment time. And they went right to Zeli and fed him. And then fed him again and fed him some more. So, just his number stood out, but shows me that team has a very reliable number 2 receiver. And if he's going to be that effective, how good can the number 1 be when he's got the matchup advantage? So I just had to throw that one out there because, like I said, I think that's something guys are going to be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and they're going to really what have you. And like I said, I liked how Little John ran the ball. He was just running through people, and we're going to have to throw, the fact that the passing game for Tokyo stood out to me because, like I said, they threw 451 yards. 451 yards with a midget.
Yeah.
So that stood out to me. I believe their quarterback's 5'10", if I'm not mistaken. That's all the bigger JD is, Mr. James Dubsett. 451 yards and 3 scores. It was like, wow, and your boy's the quarterback for Carolina. He had the 318 and 3 scores. So them 2 quarterbacks just really were lighting it up. And I do got to give Dwayne Ritter, the quarterback for Carolina, the spotlight just for 1 second, just because it was one of the prettiest things I've ever seen. His first pass ever, he throws an interception. But he comes back and he throws that 80-yard rainbow bomb. And just the way it left his arm, went downfield, just that arc, and then the reverse camera angle that we got on the replay was a thing of beauty. It's without doubt one of the greatest plays I've ever seen, just the way it flowed in this game. I'm not talking about any type of simulation or anything. I'm talking just in All-Pro itself as a whole. It's the way it came out and just hit that bomb, and they got the 6 points out of it. It was a pretty good play.
Yeah, he went nuts when I showed it. I showed him the play. I said, "You got to see this." He was like, "Oh yeah, baby!" I'm like, "Oh my."
So, but I want to do this. Hopefully, you're prepared for this because I'm
not really. I'm not prepared at all.
I'm dropping this on you right now because I didn't bring it up to you at all because I was hoping you'd be prepared without me saying it. I want to give our predictions of how we think these teams are going to finish 1 through 8. And I want to go in reverse order. I want to go with the team we think is going to finish last in the league on up. And now I'm basing this. A lot of this is being based off of what I saw in one game, which is tough to do. It's very tough to do. I was messing with this all last night before I went to work. I've actually messed with it a couple times since I got up here this morning as I go on 3-4 hours of sleep. Thinking just what team's going to do what based on yards allowed, based on possible turnovers, based on what they did or didn't use, based on the team build and stuff, and really trying to figure it out. I know some guys are going to get offended. I know guys are going to get mad, but I'm just making my honest assessment. And like I said, if you're ready for it, I'm going to go in reverse order. And if you're not 100% ready, put it together as quick as you can there, mister.
It's all you because I ain't saying shit.
Oh, no.
No.
Yes,
no.
This is inside the IFL. This isn't inside Dougie Boys. We need.
This is inside Dougie's mind. This is what this segment's going to be called. Inside Dougie's mind.
No, it's not. We're gonna bring over a Move the Chain segment called "Just Stop It" right now. No, you got to give it. We promised the people we'd have predictions. You're part of these predictions, young man.
Oh, it's not fair.
Now, see, I called you a young man. You should be thanking me.
I know it.
Cody's already offended, by the way.
Okay, why?
Have you ever seen his pictures? I'd be offended too if I look like that.
Damn, that's cold, man. That's just cold.
Just wait for it. Cody will have a comeback here in a minute. It's great. Gotta love that kid. Oh man. Yeah, Cody, Mr. Cody Ewing is without a doubt one of my favorite people in the world. There's no doubt about it. So, but yes, I'm giving you time. I'm giving you time. We can talk about whatever while you really look over those 8 teams and put them in. Oh
I
shit!
have no clue.
Cody says he's sexy as hell.
I see that.
Oh shit! He's sexy as hell. But it shouldn't be that hard. You should pretty much know right from jump what 1 or 2 teams you think are going to be the top, and then what team you think might struggle. So right there gives you almost half the opinions right away. Because it was easy, and that sounds mean to say, it was easy for me to put the team in 8th.
This is what I'm going with, and I don't care.
See? So as long as you have an order, like I said, I want to go in reverse order. I want to go 1 through 8 in reverse order, and then we'll see where we do and don't match up, because I guarantee you we might not even have one thing that's the same.
This is how I see this.
So, all right, then you're ready.
Yep.
All right, well, then we'll go with the 8th slot of where we think teams are going to finish. Who will have the longest season, if you will? Who's got the most work ahead of them, et cetera, et cetera.
And we'll say this again. Remember, this is after watching one game. This is our opinion. It's just our opinion. So if you get your butts hurt about it, you know what?
Sucks to be you.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll just use that. No, I don't think anybody's going to get offended. I know we're probably going to get comments or arguments from players and their coaches on these teams saying, hey, we're this, we're that, and that's what I want to hear from them.
Hell yeah.
But again, like I said, we can only go off one preseason game.
Right.
And what we saw, the team I mentioned 8th could be the team that wins the championship for all we know, because of the simple fact. Yeah. Wow.
Nice.
All right. But, let's put it this way. Like I said, the team I put 8th did lose their game. And
right.
Maybe they lost their game because they just didn't match up very well against the team that they lost to. And maybe they gave us some smoke and mirrors with their playbook. I don't know. We have no clue. I won't know. We'll find out when playbooks come in on Sunday, because I'm letting everybody know playbooks are due by the end of Sunday. I want to be working on them hopefully Sunday night into Monday morning, but you have till Sunday to get them done. Again, 15% of the ratio can be changed, and 15 plays on offense can be taken out, and 15 plays on defense can be taken out and replaced. So it's easy to remember the number 15. All right. Without any further ado, the 8th place team in your predictions and the 8th place team in my predictions are, who you got? Because I got Tampa Bay.
Just due to the fact that they have those 2 gold tight ends, and I don't think they used them.
Right. That's why I say Tampa Bay, because they didn't do anything with what they built their team around.
No.
The fullback, they have a silver fullback, and I don't think they utilized him as much either.
Sorry, I pulled my earbuds out of my ear there. No, I don't think they didn't. That ends right. I thought they would use the fullback more than they did.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, that's just that's my opinion there. I mean, like you said, maybe that wasn't their playbook. Maybe that was just, here you go. Whatever happens, happens. Maybe that is their playbook, and they're like, oh, man, we screwed up. Well, now we're going to find out.
Right. I mean, you got the 2 gold tight ends, and you followed it up with a silver fullback, and I think all 3 were irrelevant. Now, Herschel Mann didn't do too bad, and Aiden Friday was solid. They're the other 2 weapons they have that are in the gold and silver tier. I think did very, very well. But you got to get at least one of the tight ends heavily involved. At least one of the two.
And I don't think anybody's going to argue with that because they're both gold. They're gold. How do you have two gold tight ends and not use them?
Yeah, I thought going double gold tight end was crazy. I told him that, but it was his choice. But if you're going to have two gold, one of them, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, one of them has to lead you in receiving every week. Just my opinion. It has to happen if you invest that much.
Tampa Bay's they had 85 yards rushing.
Yeah. And like I said, that's not too bad because if you watch the game, they didn't seem to emphasize too much on the run. It seemed like they were trying to throw the ball downfield a lot and not little short like routes to the tight ends. It just seemed they wanted to go downfield.
They were doing swings and they were doing other stuff. Yeah. It was a lot of passing.
So, like I said, Herschel Mann, I think, played very well. He didn't get the century mark, but I don't think he was supposed to. It was the way the build was put together. That Pele.
Yeah, he had 76 of those 85 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and like Cody said, so even the power running doesn't seem like is their option. He's confused. I'm confused. I will say this. I honestly got this feeling. I really got a feeling Jax Diamond and Tampa Bay went fishing. I really do. I think they threw something out there to see what works. It's the classic. Let's see if it sticks just to see what they could do. If there was a team this week that maybe had some smoke and mirrors and some Playboy, yeah. Okay. Playboy.
All right. Now we're talking.
Oh, the show just went to a whole new rating level. Yeah, the classic case of throwing something to the wall, see something sticks. I think their playbook might have the biggest, not necessarily decoys in it and smoke and mirrors in it, but they might have had more plays of what will or won't work. Let's test a few things before week one gets here. But like I said, we'll see. Who knows? It could have been legit. We don't know if anyone took the time to do something like that and test anything, but we'll find out next week, because Tampa Bay goes to Boston, and we'll see what they throw at them. So, but all right, so we both agreed Tampa Bay would finish last. So, Jax and the rest of the Stallions, we apologize that we're picking you eighth, but, now it's up to you to tell us. Screw off, and this is why we won't be. All right.
Now it's up to you to prove us wrong.
Say that again.
So now it's up to them to prove us wrong.
Right, and I hope they do. That'd be great to see that. I would love to see the Stallions come out and end up winning the title. That'd be the greatest story ever. The team that was picked last wins it all. I got a gut feeling we'll be completely different the rest of the way, so I will let you tell me your seventh seed first.
Seventh, I got Boston.
Seventh, I have Carolina.
Interesting.
So I'll let you explain why you have Boston seventh, and then I'll explain why I got Carolina seventh.
Boston is real simple. Defense is good, but I don't know if it's enough. They can't just rely on that defense to keep them in every day. You got to be able to score.
Right.
And if they can't get that offense going, they're in trouble.
Fair enough. And that's what you have?
Yep.
That's yours.
It's that offense kind of, I said from the get-go, I give the kid credit for going bronze, maxing everybody out and going for it. Mm-hmm. But, he's got to find out. He's got to figure it out. Because honestly, if he figures it out, every other team in this league is going to have to say, oh, shit. No, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody will have to say that.
Right.
But the question is he going to figure it out?
Yeah. We'll see. All right, well, here's why I picked Carolina. Carolina, to me, if you look at the team build as a whole, is a solid build. It's a really solid build to me. And I know right away that sounds like an oxymoronic statement right now. They got the gold running back. They got the gold corner, silver quarterback, the double silver receivers, the safety in the corner also there. Two of their linebackers are copper, which I don't like. It's definitely something I wouldn't do. They did have, but they have, another linebacker at bronze, another linebacker at bronze. They're running the 3-4, which you could see how effective the 3-4 could be. It looked good in the game, and you can see based on the fact that they only gave up 40 rushing yards. And it's not like Tokyo didn't run the ball. They tried to run the ball. But Tokyo had 6 turnovers. If you have 6 turnovers, I know right away you can use the same defense and same argument. Oh, wait, you just did with Boston. And they had 8 turnovers. So, and that being New York, and still couldn't get the job done. So Carolina gets 6 turnovers. They take the ball 6 times away, put up 26 points. Now, here's why. Carolina's built to score. Look at the build. They're designed to put up points. They're designed to stop points. They gave up 34, only scored 26, whereas a team like Boston, in my opinion, is designed to win games that are low scoring. They're designed to win games that are going to be 24 points can get the job done because they don't have the offensive firepower to get there. So case in point, it's almost the same story with both these teams, but Carolina is designed to have more of a powerful offense than Boston. And I think Boston played well considering, even though their running game was non-existent. So for that, I will put Carolina in 7th.
All right.
Our Ghost Cat just joined us, and don't worry, he can always listen to the show back when we go off the air. So I'm just glad people are jumping in here and there. Okay, so we both got the Stallions at 8th, where we think they're going to finish. I got the Pack 7th. You got the Liberty 7th. Who do you got 6th?
You know what? I'm keeping them there anyway, and it's unfair. It's unfair. I put them here, but I did it anyway. And I know what? I don't care. And I put the Outlaws, but it's unfair because we really didn't. The only reason I put them there for now is we didn't get to see a full sample of their whole offense and do everything because your ass got hurt. So, but that's where I put them for now. Like I said, this is based off after one game.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, the reason I did that is because if this becomes a routine or if it keeps happening, where your guy would happen to get hurt a lot, that team's in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's my synopsis of that. Look at that. It went to a big word. He went to a big word, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Now make us all proud and spell it.
I know. It's okay.
All right.
I'd say I could spell, but boy, I can use them.
Yeah, once we get above words with 3 or 4 letters, I'm going to have to think. My 6th pick, I have Liberty. Now, the Liberty is the same argument I used with the Pack. You've already spoken on the Liberty. I can pretty much echo it, so I ain't got to get into all that, but end of day, they're turning the ball over a lot. That defense is legit. Now they need to score with it. I don't think they need to do much work with the defense. And let's face it, based on build and build alone, they went up against the best offensive build the league, I think, has to offer. The strongest build the league has to offer. And they made them turn the ball over 8 times. Now they just need to capitalize on those turnovers, and they're going to be a force. But when you're getting 21 yards rushing, turning the ball over yourself, and only under 300 passing yards, you got some work to do. But we knew that looking at Boston's build when the builds came in. that they were going to have a little struggle offensively. So you can see where they can make it happen. I saw a lot of promise with that team. Now we just got to see if Bo can figure it out. So, all right, now just to move on, we'll go to the fifth spot. Who you got fifth?
I have Carolina.
He's got the Carolina Pack. And then, we have this particular owner listening to the show. In the fifth slot, I have the Philadelphia Flight.
And the reason I have Carolina is I agree with you. We are built to score. We didn't score. So until we can start scoring more, that's where I got us.
All right. And I'll say this, why I have Philadelphia Flight there. Philadelphia Flight, as far as I'm concerned, is going to run well this season. I think that's going to be their bread and butter. I don't think they want to throw the ball too much. I think they want to Alex Smith, Alex Starr. I think they want to make him like the game manager, where he's not going to win or lose the game for them. He's just going to manage the game, and they're going to win and lose the game on the ground. But here's my problem with that, and hopefully for Chris Davis and company, I'll be wrong. But if you look around the league, I'll throw the numbers out. 82, 103, 85, 40, 78, 21, and 152. Now, 152 and 103 being the highest. That's the best rushing performances of the week in the preseason. Outside of Philadelphia's, which they wouldn't play themselves, those are the running yards allowed by the other teams. These teams are very stout against the run in this league. If you're not throwing the ball, can't throw the ball, don't want to throw the ball, whatever the case may be, to me, that puts you in a struggle. Plus, when you got a bronze wide receiver and a copper wide receiver to complement your two silver tight ends. Now, to their credit, I think they use their tight ends much better than Jacksonville did with two golds. I just think they're going to be limited offensively against a stout running defense, and that could cause them problems later down the road. I could be completely wrong, and let's face it, they did a very good job this week. And I wouldn't doubt if Davis went in this with a lot of question marks, but a lot of hunches, and he learned a lot, and he's going to make his adjustments. But we'll see. That's all I can say about it. We'll see what he can do and what they're going to do. But it's just those concerns that I have for that team as to why I won't put them any higher at this point.
All right.
Davis says he can say the same thing about other teams. Yes, that's the fun, man. These teams, a lot of these teams are very close, similar with same types of questions, just in different avenues. All right, so just to recap the bottom four, your bottom four in order again is?
I got Stallions
At 8,
Boston
at 7.
Arizona 6, Carolina 5.
All right, and I got the Stallions at 8, the Pack at 7, the Liberty at 6, and the Flight at 5. All right, who do you got at 4th?
I got the Flight.
And I got Tokyo. So touch on the Flight, if you will.
I got them there for now because I love their run game, but I think they're going to have to get Alex doing more than what he did.
Okay. Davis says the Flight defense is nothing to mess with. Do not test and does not estimate the Flight defense. Just to touch on Davis's comment, they gave up 360 yards of total offense against a team that did not utilize 2 golds or a silver player. And I thought of that as well, why I ranked them, because I just asked myself, if they actually utilize their major star players, how much more damage could they have done yardage-wise? So I mean, 360 yards. They were only under. I mean, they did better than Boston. They did better than the Outlaws, who I haven't even mentioned yet, and they only had 6 less yards than Baltimore. Which to me is going to have one of the better offenses. So I think they did pretty good. So let me play the devil's advocate, as you will.
He's saying, and they still didn't score. They only scored in garbage time. I think that's the point. I think that's the point you're trying to make. Is if they would have figured out how to use them gold tight ends, that silver fullback, maybe it would have been different.
Yeah, and I mean, let's put it this way: they only scored in garbage time, like he says here. Aiden Friday and DW6 Killer got the scores. Even in garbage time, the tight ends weren't utilized. That's sad to me. But they still put up some decent quality numbers. And, but like I said, I don't want to discredit what the team did or how they did it. But I do have to ask myself, how effective would that team have been had they utilized their key pieces of their puzzle, which I didn't think they did at all. I mean, it's not like it was kind of. No, they didn't even use them. I don't even know if those guys combined for 5 catches.
He's really stuck on this in garbage time.
Well, how much garbage time, and I want Davis to think about how much garbage time will your team have if you're playing a team that's utilizing their key weapons. There might not be much garbage time to go into, but that's what's going to be the fun of this. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to look at it. But, but in any case.
Number 3.
Yeah, so we'll move into the number 3 slot. Well, actually, I didn't even mention Tokyo completely. I do need to mention I have Tokyo at 4. I put Tokyo at 4 because 451 passing yards with a midget. No disrespect to James Dubsett, but like I said, he's one of the overall smallest, if not the overall smallest quarterback we've got, which I was concerned with how effective he could be. 451 yards. Can shed away all doubts. Couldn't get the running game going. Anyone familiar with Ramos Lynn knows he can get the running game going. Plus, you turn the ball over 6 times. And I'm going to throw this stat out because this is the number that people are going to be like, damn, that's impressive. You turn the ball over 6 times, have the ball 3-4 less minutes than the other team, and still have 9 yards shy of a 500-yard offensive day. That's impressive. You don't turn the ball over 6 times. You're clearly having over 500 yards of offense, which is just ridiculous. They did well against the run defensively. The pass defense was quality, gave up 318 yards. To me, this is a team that put up 34 points and struggled. That makes them, to me, dangerous, and I don't want to play that type of team. But, again, like all the other teams we've already mentioned, you can see their holes. If they don't fix it, they could easily go to the bottom of the league just like any other team could. Davis. Right. I have to comment on Davis.
That's their fault for not game planning correctly?
It's their fault. That has nothing to do with the flight defense. I'll say this. Of course it's their fault, but you got to look at it with an open mind. Your defense did what it needed to do against what was thrown at you. But I can't sit here and say, yeah, you'd have done just as good against them if they opened up the playbook with their best players. I don't even know how good their gold tight ends are yet because they didn't use them. I've seen gold tight ends just dominate no matter how good you prepare for them. And I know teams have put out strong defenses to stop gold tight ends in the past, and the gold tight end still kicks ass. That doesn't always happen, but it happens. So that's why I say straight up, if they utilized them, would the defense been as strong? We don't know. I'm going with the assessment because I know how strong a tight end can be, that it wouldn't have been as good, but I don't want to discredit it either. So All right. So that's where we have our fourth slots. I have Tokyo, and you said you had the flight. All right. The third slot, who you got?
I got Tokyo.
I'm sure you're going to echo just what I said about Tokyo a second ago. And this is where we differ.
Yeah, if he gets that, we all know he's going to get the running game going. And I mean, you already see what he's doing with the midget. And we hate to keep calling him, but the guy. I mean, honestly, when you create a player and you make him a quarterback, where I got to figure out somebody's thought process there. I'm going to make my quarterback 5'10". What, well, really?
That's funny.
But look what he did with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to give him all the credit in the world. Look what he did with him. And then
Right.
if he can get, Wilcox going and get, take even more pressure off that quarterback, Tokyo could be scary. But for now, since they don't have that running game going yet, I put him third.
Right. Well, I will say this. Why I have the team that I have where I have them, and that, like I said, that being the Outlaws at third is just for this simple fact, alone. They were in that game the whole way. The whole way. And anyone knows TJ Johnston, who owns Baltimore, he, in this type of game, this type of hobby, this type of whatever you want to call this, is one of the best guys there is, I think, out there when it comes to running a team, putting together a team. And then he's got his tag team partner in Max Paul, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a very strong defensive-minded guy that I've seen. I'd probably have him in my top 3 of defensive-minded coaches. They only won 23-13 against a team that was crippled after the first quarter. So I'm going on a hunch that team would have been much more in that game. It would have been a more competitive game. Maybe they could even have won the game. That's all guesswork. And the Outlaws turned the ball over 3 times. 3 times. Now, that sounds a lot. You're like, who cares? We had teams turning it over 6 and 8. But still, you turned the ball over 3 times, and you're in the game all the way to the end. Baltimore scored late in the game, which made the game look like a wider gap than it was. But to the Outlaws' credit, like I said, their generic had some strong runs. If it's their star back, he's going to break for more. The passing game was affected by the fact they didn't have the running game with the generic. But the defense is what stood out for me. I think the defense as a whole did very well against Baltimore. And I'm just going on the hunch. Like I said, if they have their star players across the board and they're healthy, they're going to be a force. But like you mentioned, when you put them 6th, it was the only player to get hurt. And we've seen guys get hurt and seem to get hurt often. So if it becomes routine, this team's going to struggle all season. But I'm basing this based off what I know from TJ, what I know from Max Paul, who are running Baltimore, and how well Arizona played it. So, all a hunch.
Sorry,
so now
I'm laughing at Cody because Cody just said, "What did I say about those turnovers?" That poor guy complex. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Tatum did get hurt as well. It's a good point. Thanks for Mighty for pointing that out. I know Mighty and TJ are, saying these same things to themselves when they're looking at this team and building the team. Because it was like when the game was over, I talked to TJ about it. He was like, "A shame your running back got hurt." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "That kind of sucked." And and I know what went through his head was, they weren't going to be able to test the teams out the way he wanted. So, but hey, they know something, So to hell, and now that I think about it, I'm double checking Arizona's build. Yeah, Tank Tatum and myself were the Golds. Both Golds got hurt in that game for Arizona. And it was, I forget what quarter that was. So if you can remind me, because I can't remember when Tatum got hurt. I just can't recall when exactly it was that he went down. But yeah, I forgot all about that one because I guess I was thinking about myself. How selfish.
Hey, it's your player. You're allowed to do that.
So now that we're at the third slot here, that means we only have 2 slots left. That would tell me the 2 teams we have left is our opinion of who's going to play in the inaugural IFL championship game. Which I will say this before we mention it. I want anyone in this league to send me via a private message on Slack your suggestions on what we are calling our championship game. You know, in college they call it the BCS championship, which is, whatever. The NFL has the Super Bowl. Canada has the Grey Cup. The IFL will have something. We will not just call it the IFL championship game. That's corny. It will have a name. Give us honest, real, legit suggestions. And if you can, explain your suggestion. I will then present the suggestions to people, and we're going to put them out there. Just to see what we got. But that's something we're going to have for sure. Now, this is the 2. And we're just going to say these 2 at the same time. Well, not at the same time. You speak, I speak. I just want you to tell me who you got 1, who you got 2. And then we'll get into it. So, who's your 1 and who's your 2?
Well, since we've been going reverse order this whole time, that's what I'm going to have. Baltimore 2, New York number 1.
I have Baltimore 2. I have New York 1.
There you go.
And since you've been going first, I'll go first this time, so then you can comment. But here's how I say it: Baltimore, offensively, I don't think they were as effective as they wanted to be against Arizona. But like I said, I believe they'll figure that out. They got 2 strong golds in Macho Fog and Redfield Littlejohn. Then they got Stenzo Woods Jr., TJ Speaks at silver. And they got the 2 corners and Maximus, the defensive tackle, at silver. They even got the kicker. And if you watch the games, Johann, I'm not even going to try and say the rest of his name, Johann Sebastian, yeah, I'll mess it up and I don't want to butcher it, and Lou Bacon and Boo Weaver, they're all doing the kicking and stuff like that. It's just they're impressive. Corner, coffin kicks, things like that, much more impressive on Legends. So I think here in the IFL, special teamers have a much bigger, better value than we've ever seen. So to me, that could help them and down the road and in the stretch and in a close game. So I have to throw that fact out there. But the defense, like I said, Max, I trust Max. I think he's a solid coach. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table for that team. And and I can play the flip of it, if you will, the reverse of it, if you will. Like I said about Arizona, if they didn't get hurt, this, that, and the other, how well would the game been? Again, I'm just going on a hunch with that as well. So, that's why I have Baltimore in the 2 slot. I just think they're going to be prepared. Why do you have Baltimore 2?
I like Baltimore. I think their offense, if you look at the stats, watch the game, even though they didn't, like you said, didn't use their offense as full, I think their offense is damn good. I really do. I think the defense is pretty good. Max is going to get that defense chimed in, and when he does, they could be one of the most complete teams in the league.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
Well, we both say the number 1 team is the same. I will touch on a comment that we just got from Davis. He says, Baltimore is understandable, but New York, okay. And I will say this. This is why, without a shadow of a doubt, New York is number 1 in my book. And to me, New York proved They're the team to beat. Without a shadow of a doubt, they've proved they are the team to beat. They are, to me, odds-on favorite to win. If I was Vegas, they'd have the odds that you would get the least payback. And here's why. 152 rushing yards, 353 passing yards for 505 total yards. Now, I'll repeat those. 353 passing, 152 rushing, and 505 total yards. And they turned that ball over. Yeah, Cody, I said it. They've turned the ball over 8 times. If you're turning the ball over 8 times, then scoring 38 points and producing 505 yards against, without a shadow of a doubt, the strongest built defense this league has to offer. What are you going to do against the weaker built defenses?
Simple. Annihilate and destroy.
I mean, like you said, annihilate and destroy. I can't see another defense in this league forcing them to force the ball over 8 times. I just can't. Now, I can see them holding them to less yards, maybe slowing them down points-wise or whatever. Like, I trust Baltimore's defense. We'll give Davis a little bit of credit. I'll play the flip side of it. Maybe the reason why their tight ends weren't involved as much, maybe it's because he said, to hell with them, we're shutting them down. And that's why it happened. Tokyo didn't do bad defensively. These are defenses, but those teams aren't built to shut down people like that. Those defenses are built to make sure their stronger offenses can compete and keep them in the games, where Boston's the only team in the league that's built to stop you and shut you down. Again, Boston's build, for those of you who are unaware of it, gold corner. Yeah, I said it twice. They have double gold corners. At silver, strong safety, free safety, 2 outside linebackers, and a defensive end. And then they have a free safety and a defensive tackle at copper. Their only offensive players are a tight end at copper, 2 wide receivers, a halfback, and a quarterback, all at bronze. So when you count it, they got the 2 golds and the 5 silvers, which gives you 7 guys with 2 more coppers. 9 of their 11 starting defensive players are star players. And New York put up the numbers that they did. Well, obviously, and Davis says every team can be beaten. There's a weakness somewhere in every team. There's no question. I look at it that way. There's no question every team can be beaten. I look at all 8 of these teams, and I know exactly what I would try to do offensively and defensively against each team. But the question is, by the time I put that in my playbook to play them, have they changed what I was going to attack? That's the joy of playbook adjustments. To me, an offense putting up 505 yards, like I said, 38 points, and still having 8 turnovers. If I'm an owner in this league, that scares the hell out of me if I had to play against that. Because they're still putting up them kind of numbers and giving the ball away.
Yeah, and like you said, they didn't even get their stud receiver involved. I mean, he had a few catches.
Yeah, he got, for the most part, shut down. Bo Davis was the one covering him. It was Drew Ritter. Drew Ritter's the wide receiver for over there. And for the most part, he was irrelevant. For the most part, he was non-existent. So, all in all, that's just as if I was an owner, like I said, or as a coach, I've done this. I sit back and it's like, yeah, I don't want to play that kind of team. I just don't want to do it. I mean, just take those 8 turnovers, if you will, and cut them in half. Let's just say there was 4. Of argument, let's just say those are 4. Isn't it a fair assessment to think they might have had at least another 100 yards offense?
You could say that.
I would say at least 100, and of those 4 turnovers that you would eliminate, as explosive as that offense seemed, I'd be willing to say, they'd at least get 1 touchdown out of those 4. extra drives, that puts him into the 40-plus point mark with 600 yards against the best defensive built team on paper. Now I know some.
Sorry. Cody's a kid.
But it'd be great if any of you is in the chat or anyone who listens to the playback, send us your predictions, because I'm letting everybody know now, and I'm putting it out there now. Davis, no, I will not relax, he says. Once you get to know Chris Davis, you will know.
You can answer his question, because I haven't.
What's that?
I haven't really studied it enough. But Davis wanted to know who was your opinion. Who's the top 5 defenses?
Considering we only have 8
Maybe you've
teams,
studied it more.
since we only have 8 teams, I really don't want to just say top 5, because that's kind of throwing it all out there as a whole. Might as well just name all 8 teams at that point. But defenses, we got the New York quarterback and the Philadelphia owner now. They're gonna get into a battle of words in the chat. Just keep it fun, guys. Yes. I love these guys. These are great. But defensive wise, I believe Baltimore is going to have one of the better defenses stat wise. I do think only allowing 505 yards when you took when they turned the ball over 8 times, it's just like, wow. But look at New York. 306 yards is what they gave up. Could that be because of the build, playing the reverse role? I don't know. But I'm not sure how good Boston's defense is going to be as a whole, but on paper, they got to be put in the top 3, top 5 at worst. But I'm going to put them definitely in my top half. Throw a third team in there defensively. Like I said, I can say the same thing about Philadelphia. Maybe the reason why the double gold tight ends were not effective is because it was the defense. They're the ones who shut them down, and their whole design was to go to them. I don't know.
How do you not have homework?
So, and Ed's talking to his children, ladies and gentlemen, so don't mind him. But yeah, Philadelphia is right there, going to be near the top for me. And I did like what Arizona did defensively. I mean, I can give a positive mark for all these teams defensively. That's the crazy part, except for Tampa Bay. That sounds mean. Tampa Bay's defense had a little bit of struggles. Carolina's defense had a little bit of struggles. It's for some obvious reasons every way around. But to get to what I was saying before I answered that question, I created a thing called Power Rankings. I am using the Power Rankings here in the IFL. I don't know if I'm going to create an actual channel for it that we have on our Slack. But Power Rankings will be designed. It's only 8 teams, for God's sakes, so it shouldn't be that hard for people to do. I want guys to base it off of the preseason games, the builds, and even throw in your hunch and your gut feelings. I'm going to be posting about that today, and I'm going to release the quote-unquote preseason rankings before week 1 gets here, and I'm probably going to just give guys about 24 to 48 hours to submit their rankings, so I can get these released, and that's how we're going to recognize it. It's going to be recognized in games when we advertise them and discuss it. It'll be like the 4th team is going up against the 3rd team, kind of like that college feel. But I don't want to have us have that college feel because it's more supposed to be like a professional thing. But we're having fun. And you don't want to be the 8th seed or play the 8th seed and lose because like, I lost to the worst team in the league. So I'm going to treat it like, that show me your involvement. To me, this is a key thing to show me your involvement in this league. Show me how involved you are because there's been a lot of talk with guys already, which is great, but at the same time, it's shut up. Are we going to expand? obviously we want to. We won't sugarcoat that. And I'm not worried about expanding this year. I'm not worried about expanding next year. That will happen when it happens. But when that time comes, trust me, the more active you are, the more involved you are, the better your chances are of scoring a team if that's what you want down the road. So power rankings are going to be a key part of that. So if anyone that's listening now wants to submit their power rankings to me, send it to me in a private message on Slack at any time. I'll have it, even though I haven't announced it on Slack. And we're going to get those power rankings up hopefully before the later in the evening on Sunday, because I actually go to work Sunday evening. So I'm going to definitely get those up by Sunday. So I just might close the voting on that around noon Sunday, or maybe even the end of tomorrow night, because it's plenty of time to do it. So IFL power rankings. So get ready. Send yours in as soon as you can if you're listening now. And I'm actually going to go on to Slack and post this while I'm thinking about it, because I seem to forget everything else. Like I need to hire statisticians and stuff.
That's funny.
So what's on your mind?
Not much. I just know that we're real close to regular season games. And it's going to get interesting. Going to see who makes adjustments, who doesn't, who does this, who does that. In a few weeks we'll be able to start. People will be able to start determining who's the weaker teams in the league, who's the stronger teams in the league. It's all coming together. I love it. Yeah. And just to be me, because I can, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. Because you know me by now. You've known me long enough. I'll say it, and I'll keep saying it. Even if I have to say it on every show from here on out till whenever, I'm going to keep saying it. For all the doubters that thought, oh, there's no way they're going to get people to join. There's no way they're going to get to pull this off. There's no way that no way it's going to happen. How you like us now?
Well, okay then.
And for everyone who's joined the IFL, thank you very, very much. Because without you guys, there would be no league. Plain and simple. So yeah, that's my whole take on it.
All right, I just posted that on the IFL announcements. It says that channel, so everybody gets the alert. It says 1, I'm looking for statisticians for the regular season, people to help me compile the stats from week to week, because they'll be done by hand. 2, power rankings. I created the power rankings in another league. That's the IFL will have it. Send me via a private message your power rankings in order 1 through 8 before the end of tomorrow night. They will be released at 12 p.m. Eastern Sunday. So it's Sunday, 12 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern. I will be released the power ranks.
I feel special now.
Because Cody loves you?
Loves us.
Yeah, I've always known Cody's loved me.
Oh, here, okay.
Yeah, you ought to see the things he tries to do to me when we're alone. No.
That's a whole other show. I know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we enter the IFL After Dark portion of the show.
Way after dark. That's after. Good Lord, have mercy.
See, he loves my sweetie. Yeah, look at that.
Where did? Oh, where did I lose control?
Cody, you're going to hell, and you know it. Oh shit. Welcome to the chat, Alex. Alex got here maybe a little late, or he just hadn't spoken till now. So, yeah, but is there anything else you want to cover? Because I don't know if we're going to get another IFL podcast out, another Inside the IFL anything out before the start of the season.
No, because you covered the stats, you covered the games, covered this. I'm trying to think. You kind of talked about expansion, and I'll say what you said. Yes. Do we want to expand? Oh, hell yeah, no doubt about it. When, like you said, when it happens. But I will say the same thing you've already said, that when we do expand, there is no cross-conference game. No, not going to happen.
Right.
No, you will play your teams if you're one conference, you'll play those teams. If you're another conference, you play those teams. And then the winners of the conferences will then play each other in whatever we call our championship game. And I think that's the right way to do it because, there's issues with cross-conference games. And without a shadow of a doubt, you can ask Destro about it because he was against it from the get-go. He didn't like it, didn't want to do it, but he rolled with it. So, but yeah, I would be really cool to have two conferences and, whatever, 6 teams, 8 teams, 8 teams in each conference and just watch these teams just battle it out and just see what happens.
Right, and I'll touch on this since guys have asked, and since you mentioned the cross-conference thing, this is something I'll throw out for some people who are unaware. You can only – no, I haven't, Cody. You can only put 8 teams on a file, which means when it comes to cross-conference, once you get to the 9th team, which is where we didn't go, we're only at the 8th, we can't put a 9th team on a disc or a chip or a flash drive or any kind of file that you want to, however you want to word it. It has to go on a separate file. So if we were to do 10 teams, we'd have to put 5 on one file, 5 on another file. So the negative of 10 teams is you could only play 4 opponents. So if you played 4 opponents twice, which you would have to do if they're in your division, because when you have divisions in football, you should play everyone in your division at least twice, or it makes no sense. So that would be an 8-game season because you can't play the other conference because of the conflict that it can create. So an 8-game season just sounds too stupid to me, and I really don't like the idea of doing a 10-team league and playing everybody 3 times. To play 4 different teams 3 different times each just is pointless to me. Now, I can get the rivalries that could come out of it, the wars that could come out of it, getting the familiarity with each team and all that stuff, but still, it just doesn't make sense for a 12-game season. So 10 teams, not going to happen. If we bump it to 12 teams, that's 6 on one file, 6 on the other file. You play each team twice for a 10-game season. Now, I really don't want to go from 14 games down to 10, but at least that has a lot more appeal. And playing each team 3 times is a 15-game season. Not digging that either. I really don't want to do NFL style and get to around 16 games. I'm happy doing 12 to 14. That's why in conversations with you, Ed, we've discussed 14 teams is the most ideal based on what we're doing now, because you'd play each team twice, which would give you 6 opponents, each team twice. It'd be a 12-game season. But the whole expansion idea is not even in my mind. I've thought about it to the point of how many teams would be ideal. So I'm letting guys know now, 10 is not ideal. 12 is not ideal. But we are not equipped right now for a 14 or 16-team league. And 16 is clearly the maximum that we'll be willing to go, because there's already going to be the issue of championship game. That's a cross-conference game. It is. But the thing is, I will be taking the time when it comes to doing the hexting and editing, which is another reason why our championship game might be 2 weeks after the conference title, or not the conference title, the semifinals of the playoffs, just so I can hex both teams completely. And that's one of the reasons why people don't like the cross-conference games in other leagues, because when you do it, you're almost inheriting another team's build with your generics. I don't want to do that. I actually want to take the time to hex all 42 players, T for T, if you will. I'll dot my I's, cross the T's, every little bit. This way, it's not doing that. It's, in a way, not a cross-conference game no more. So to me, that's the way it's worth doing. Now, I could do cross-conference games now, but I'd want to do that each and every week. So we basically would play a week, have a bye week, play a week, have a bye week. So a 14-week season turns into 28 weeks. Not happening. But for the championship game, I'm more than willing to do it.
Yes, and I like Cody's
like I said, I'll probably
comment. He says, I like it, kind of like AFL versus NFL way back in the day.
Right.
Exactly.
It's kind of the old American League versus the National League. They never cross conference. They played themselves, and they only met in the World Series. So, I mean, that's just how it goes. I know guys are going to ask me about it. It hasn't come up too much yet, but I'm going to touch on this here because I think this will get a lot more views later. I've been asked about a quote-unquote All-Star game, Pro Bowl game, things of that nature. I would love to do it. I really would, but with 8 teams, no conferences, no divisions, who the hell would play on which side?
Exactly.
That's the problem. I don't know, but I will tell everybody this. If we split into 2 conferences, 2 divisions, whatever you want to call it, that will be added to my list of things I want to do. I'm not worried about the time and the effort that goes into building it. I just need the league to understand the time and that it's going to take for me to do the hexting and the editing to make it right. That's what they're going to have to just understand, because I'm going to have to create each guy, piece by piece, and set it up that way. And we do have some non-star linemen who could make Pro Bowls and stuff like that if they're still like that come expansion, whenever that happens. And again, teams who would be rewarded teams in expansion will be the guys who show the most time and effort, dedication to the league as a whole, because that's just the fittingest way to do it. It's the fairest way to do it. There'll be voting involved.
I got like 2 minutes, and then I got to head out the door.
Yeah, and the owners are going to have their say or what have you. In case I didn't mention it, Pick'em. I also created Pick'em in another league. I'm bringing that here as well. I'm creating that channel pretty much as soon as I get off of here, I hope, because my kids will be home at a little bit before 4, and I'll have to head out the door to get them. So I'm hoping to be able to make that channel and go on there and make your picks, who you think's going to win each and every week. So just by clicking on the proper emoji, and I'll get that all squared away here soon. So I have all 8 teams. But week 1, Carolina's at Baltimore. So the Carolina Pack at the Baltimore Bulls is the game of the week, as voted on by the members of the league. The other 3 games, the Tampa Bay Stallions are at the Boston Liberty, the Tokyo Kitsune are at the New York Cobras, and the Philadelphia Flight are at the Arizona Outlaws. I think it's 4 very appealing games. What about you?
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun.
Can't wait till. Yeah. I think we're gonna learn a lot about some of these teams immediately. Pack and Bulls, we'll see. I think that was the fittingest vote. I really do, of the 4. Since we voted before preseason. Now that preseason is over, Kitsune Cobra would have got my vote.
Yeah. But
before, clearly the Pack and Bulls, I think, was very solid. But these are going to be fun games. So we're going to, like you said, you got to get going. I know I got to get going here in a couple minutes myself. So we'll wrap this one up. And like I said, guys, pay attention to Slack. The pick'em's going up. The power rankings, send them to me in a private message. We'll get those posted. And we're going to get another one of these shows popping off as often as we can now that we got this figured out here on YouTube, which is what I was going to do originally because this was Mighty's idea, Max Paul. He brought this idea to me when him and I ran a show together, and we just didn't get to it. So it was all part of the plan. I just hadn't had the time to do it and figure it out. Now that I've actually taken the time to do it and figure it out, here we are. And this is where inside the IFLs will happen from here on out, as long as we don't run into any issues. Hopefully they'll happen more often than usual now that the season has started. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in. We'll show up and watch later. And again, get me your power rankings 1 through 8 in order ASAP. They're due by the end of tomorrow. And stay alert to Slack here shortly because I'm going to be putting the Pick'em page up. And we're going to take it from there, brothers. So, Ed, any final thoughts?
Nope. Just thank everybody for joining the chat, and good luck everybody during the regular season.
You got that right. It's going to be fun. It's that time now. Coaches, owners, get your playbooks together. They're due before the end of Sunday as well. And we're heading into week 1. The IFL is ready to rock and roll, and the season has begun. So for Ed Ritter, I'm Doug, and we'll catch your ass down the road. Later.
Later.